Hello, and thank you so much for joining me for Tune In Tuesday. My name is Sharon Rogers, and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Wells, Maine in the United States. Typically, I bring you an online class via my YouTube channel twice a month on a Tuesday, hence the name Tune In Tuesday. The second Tuesday of the month is typically focused on a technique. And the fourth Tuesday of a month is typically focused on a stamp set, bundle, or suite of products. Well, because this is December and my day job is working at a church where I'm super busy in December, I have decided to only do one Tune In Tuesday this month. And so I'm going to combine my technique using embossing folders with a suite of products, the Nests of Winter suite. I think you're going to love seeing what you can do with embossing folders and this suite. Now, just a note, this is the first in a two-part series. So the first or the second Tuesday in January, I will also feature embossing techniques. But for now, we're going to start from the ground up. We're going to start with the easiest of all of the embossing folder techniques, and that is using one. And then we're going to show how you can just progress a little bit and make your projects just a little bit more special through the use of an embossing folder. In January, I'm going to kick it up a notch and we're going to do some more advanced techniques with the embossing folder. But I didn't want to leave those of you who may never have tried an embossing folder out in the dark. I wanted you to see how simple this technique really is and how it can really add to your projects. Let's get started. Embossing folders come in a couple different types. Well, actually there was a third one, but I don't even know if we currently have any regular embossing folders. All I have in my collection at the moment is the 3D kind and the hybrid embossing folder kind. So the 3D embossing folder differs from the regular embossing folders in that it gives a deeper impression, which creates more wow. So I can see why we wouldn't have too many regular embossing folders anymore. But especially if you've been stamping for a while or you've inherited somebody's collection, you may have some regular ones that don't say 3D. And these hybrid ones mean that they are built for not only embossing, you can just emboss with them, but you can also emboss and die cut at the same time. And I'll show you that a little bit later with a sneak peek of something new coming out. I'm going to start with this Forever Plaid 3D embossing folder. And in order to emboss, you will need your Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, and you'll need the number 1 plate. And the number 1 plate gives you the directions on how to set up your sandwiches. So if you're using, if you're regular die cutting, you're going to use this. If you are going to be using the hinged embossing folders, which is the kind that ours are, you have one of two types. You have the standard embossing folder, in which case you would need a number 1 plate, which is this, and then you'd need 2 of the number 3, which are those clear ones that we usually reserve for die cutting. And then of course you'd need your embossing folder and cardstock. With the 3D embossing folder, all you need is plate 1, the embossing folder, and the cardstock that you're going to be embossing. So I've already cut a piece of basic white. This is the Forever Plaid. I'm going to just align my paper in there and get it, you know, fairly straight and kind of centered with respect to all the lines. And then you would need a number 4 plate, and that's this gray plate here. So that's your sandwich. And whenever you're embossing, you want to put the folded side through first. You might get lucky and nothing will happen if you put the other end through your machine first, but it will catch up to you. It has caught up to me. And so then I learned, always put the folded edge through first. Otherwise, you end end up risking cracking this and even having it break into 2 pieces, in which case it will no longer be useful for you. So let me bring in my embossing machine here, and I'm going to put my folded end in first and run that through. We are in the winter season officially. Well, if this is airing live, we're probably not officially in winter yet, but it's just a few days away. I love white in the winter. We are not looking to have maybe much of a white Christmas, potentially a little bit of snow on Saturday, but that doesn't mean that I can't play with a lot of white. And so here is just a piece of white cardstock, and look at how pretty that texture is. All right, now let's make a card with this. I'm going to bring in some Designer Series paper. This is from the Nests of Winter collection. Let me just show you that. This has been in the mini catalog, and it is carrying over. This is such fantastic. I'm not a bird person, but this is really fantastic stuff. So we've got some birds here, and you can fussy cut those or just use those in the background. And then you've got this pattern, which is one we're going to be using, but we're really focusing on the striped side in the back. Then you've got this one, and these birds right here, I have already die cut. Let me show you that. The Winterly Treetops dies fussy cuts that bird out. It doesn't fussy cut it, it die cuts it out. So you can see a bunch of them there, but you can also fussy cut some if you'd like. And then you've got these pretty birch trees with birds in them. And let's see, I know we got more. And then you've got some pussy willows with some birds on them, and this would make 6 cards in a flash. I'm going to show you that in a minute as well. But really, really gorgeous, gorgeous paper. Some just regular birch and pussy willows, and that's it. So I'm using the stripes here. I've cut this piece to be 4 inches by 5 1/4. And I will be putting this on it. Now you can choose which side. This is what's known as the debossed side, although honestly on this particular folder, some of it is embossed, which means it sticks up, and some of it is debossed. But this is the side that is more embossed, where it sticks up more. We're going to put that right on here. I was inspired by another card that I saw. And let me just see if I can pull up who it was from. I think the demonstrator's name is Linda Ward. And we're going to be ripping this. So I know it's nicely embossed and stuff, but we're just going to kind of rip this down here and see what we can get with that. So we have something that looks like that. And we will need a card base. I'm going to put my little birdies right here. I'm going to put a little sentiment on. This is going to be a pretty quick and easy card once we have all the elements. All right, we're going to go ahead and layer on this piece of basic white that's been embossed. We will layer it on to our striped, let me make sure I've got the right side here, striped DSP. And you want to, I like glue the best because it's going to seep into some of the different areas and really let more of it grab hold. You certainly can use other adhesive as well. You'll just probably end up using a little bit more adhesive no matter what you use than normal, because the raised pattern is not, it's not all touching this in the same way. So just something to keep in mind. Then I've got a piece of garden green that is cut slightly larger. This is 4 inches by 5 1/4. So the white started out, and I could have done it a little bit smaller, but I think the white started out as 3 3/4 by 4 1/4. And this green striped piece was the same width. It was 3 3/4, and the height was 5. And now I'm layering it onto a piece of garden green that is 4 by 5 1/4. All these measurements are in the project sheet that will be provided for those who get the class kit, the card kit. Measurements will be provided to some of the cards tonight in my Monday email, but full directions are reserved for those who get the class card kit. Not that you can't figure out how to do it just by watching this video. All right, we're gonna put these little birds on now, and I've already die cut some more pieces. I didn't change Linda Ward's design, fellow demonstrator who I got this from, a bit, because I thought it was just perfect the way it was. So we're going to put those underneath there. And I've just sort of roughly placed them where I want them, so I know just where to add the glue. All right, here we go. And I'm going to put my birds up on dimensionals. So let's go ahead and flip this over. We'll bring in our dimensionals. And because this paper is a little bit thinner, it's probably wise to use more than you would normally use, because it will be bending. That one's kind of big. So what I'm going to do for that one is just cut a little bit of an edge off here. It's almost like half a dimensional over here on the edge. We'll put that right there. And so now you just sort of put that, figure out where we want that. Just like, oops, did I not take the backings off these things? I did not. Oh, goodness. Holidays are nearby. I don't know whether I'm coming or going sometimes, I think. Okay, so there we go. Now we need to stamp a little sentiment, and in this Winterly Treetops, we've got this Thinking of You Always, which is such a nice sentiment in the middle of winter to receive. You're stuck, you're inside because it's cold. What a nice thing to get from a friend, that they're thinking of me always. I do want to cut this down a little bit. It is way too large. I think for this sentiment, if I just look on my paper here, I can see that it's about a little over half. So I'm going to cut it at 3/4 of an inch wide, I think, and about 2 1/4. So 3/4 of an inch wide. I can do 2 1/4. Let's see how we like the stamped image first. We'll determine whether we want to flag it or if we want to just add it on the way it is. Okay, there's my sentiment. And I think we're just gonna trim this right up like that. It doesn't have to be too perfect because it's got white on white, so it'll be a little bit forgiving anyway. I'm not going to stick that up on dimensionals. I'm just going to let the birds be on dimensionals. Ooh, my hands are inky. All right, let me hold that up and see how I like that. That's good. All right, let's bring in some of the linen thread, the Natural Tones linen thread. This is also in the mini catalog. Comes in navy, and I think this is copper, and garden green. Let's tie a little bow here. Adjust the ends a little bit. Get them roughly equal. All right. And now let's find a glue dot. Now I have a bunch of glue dots left over from some paper pumpkins, so I'm trying to use up some things. But of course, ones on the roll are really a lot easier to use. So bear that in mind. Let's see if we can, let's put this up. Well, it's there now. Let's put that there. So we'll just put this right here like that. It's okay that it hangs down over the end. It'll be fine tucking it into the envelope like that. And I think I forgot one more backing. There we go. Now he's sticking down right. And we have a couple more gems that we can put on. These Earth Tones Shimmer Gems go perfectly with this paper. It was part of the suite. So when you purchase a suite, you save 10% when you purchase the dies and the stamps that are part of the suite. But all the other pieces are just added into the suite's price. So you can buy them separately or together, doesn't matter. But if you want to save some money, make sure you buy the stamps and the stamps and the dies together. But if you want the whole thing to make it a true bundle or a suite, then you can just order with one number and get it all. And so now, this is not a card yet. We just need to put that on a card base. I happen to have a thick basic white card base right here. And again, I told you I love white during the winter. I am a New Hampshire girl living in Maine. Why wouldn't I love white in the winter? Well, there are a couple times when I don't like white in the winter, and that's when I need to make sure that the other place where I work, the church, is all plowed out if the snow comes on a Saturday evening, early Sunday morning. But there we go, a beautiful little card, and we can stamp a little bird inside and color him, or we could just take another piece of the designer series paper and put that in here. And I will just figure that out at another time. But this is our card. Isn't that beautiful? Linda did such a great job on that. Really, really pretty. So there are two types of bird images on this particular sheet. We just die cut out one of these and used it for our first card. But this little guy can be die cut with, and I just cut one of them out, can be die cut with another die from that same set. So I'm going to die cut him, but I also want to do something else. I want to put him on a tree. I'll show you what I mean. I want to put him on something that has a tree texture to it. And this is the Timber 3D embossing folder. If I were to emboss this piece of pecan pie with the Timber 3D embossing folder and then die cut it, I'm not going to show you because it would be a waste of paper. But when I die cut this, I would be flattening out some of that raised image. So the rule is, if you are not using a hybrid folder, which I'm not for this because it doesn't exist, I'm going to die cut first and then I'm going to emboss. So while I'm die cutting this bird, I may as well die cut this circle from the Stylish Shapes dies, my absolute go-to shapes dies. I use them very frequently. Circles, and let me show you. There's circles and squares and banners, 4 different banners, but they all have stitching. And the stitching just really adds a nice finished touch. Let's go ahead and run this through. All right. That's not going to go far because I still have to do some embossing. See, now I have this circle, and can you see the stitching around the edge? And then I've got my little birdie here that I did not have to fussy cut. So when I put him on here, he does have a little bit of a white border. Doesn't bother me at all. Just helps him stand out, I think. All right. Now I want to take my circle and I want to emboss it with this timber embossing folder. It is a 3D embossing folder, and I can see through it, and let me just see where I want one of these big kind of knots, I think off to the side there. I'll put that in like that. Remember, plate 1, the embossing folder with the edge going through first, that folded edge, and then plate number 4. Bring back in our, which way is my fold? I want to make sure I get it right here. I think, all right, so I want my folded edge through first. Always a good idea to check, especially if you're, rearranging things either on your desk or in front of the video camera. All right, now we can take this away. And we have a nicely embossed piece of pecan pie. Now this is wonderful as it is, but I'm going to show you what a blending brush will do. I'm going to get my pecan pie, and I could get a different color if I wanted to, a darker color, but the pecan pie is going to be fine. I'm going to pick some of that up. And I always need a little bit of a scrap to kind of take off that harshness first. You get that big old splotch right there. And then if I brush over it lightly, what happens is, especially if I'm doing this in nice circular motions, is the ink sticks more heavily to the raised portion. So it just gives it more definition. Really brings out that embossing. I'll show you that. I'll bring that a little bit closer so you can see. And can you see a lot more definition? It just creates more shadows in there. All right. So now let's make a card out of this. All right, I'm going to bring in a base of Early Espresso, and I've cut a piece of the Pussy Willow paper that has the birch on the back, and this is, I think it's a little bit too wide. I'm going to cut it down to 2 1/4 inches by 4 3/4 inches. So this is going to just be a little banner that comes down here, but it doesn't look like a banner yet. I'm going to make it a banner. So I'm going to cut up about an inch, maybe 3/4 of an inch. And then I'm going to find where that stop point was. I'm going to cut right to it. I'm going to do the same thing from the other side. I need to cut up a little bit more. There we go. So now we have our little banner here. We'll put that on there. And we're going to put this on here. And so this ties in the early espresso and the pecan pie that's in the base of this, and just ties it all in. And this just makes a really, really nice masculine card. Just adhere this here. And I'm probably not going to use any gems on this. I don't know, I can see in just a second, but generally for masculine cards, I don't put a whole lot of gems on, or at least not sparkly ones. We'll put this guy on with dimensionals. And again, it's a fairly thin piece of paper, so perhaps I just reinforce some of it. One of these little half dimensionals that's out here, right up here. That's pretty good, I think. I'm going to take all the dimensional backings off this time. All right. And I want my knot to be fairly prominent. So here I have that. And I'm probably gonna just, yeah, I'll probably adhere this up with dimensionals as well. It's a fairly large circle, probably needs 4 dimensionals on it. Maybe even 1 in the middle, but my bird's got 1 in the middle there, so I think it'll be fine. There we go. We just have him split the difference there. Let's see. There we go. Now, if you want a little sentiment, you can put a little sentiment on there. Let's see what we have here. That's really long. That's a really long thing here. Sending thanks and much love. I could do sending thanks, probably. Thinking of you always. Maybe I could just cut out and just do the thinking of you. But you know what? Let's just try something a little bit different. And let's just use one single word from that stamp, and that is happiness. Let's stamp in early espresso, and I just need a scrap of white, and everybody has a scrap of white kicking around, or 40,000, right? Y'all have lots of scraps. So let's see what this looks like. I'm just going to do the happiness. Don't care if I get some of the other words with it, because I'm going to fussy cut this guy out. Ooh, looks like my early espresso probably needs some re-inking. You know what? Yeah, I can't really re-ink it and show you. Yes, I can. So if I were to re-ink this, let me show you how to re-ink a stamp pad. I've got the re-inker bottle here. Now, normally I do not re-ink and then just use it right away. Now, notice how when I'm squirting this on, it sinks in right away. That means it's really dry. But the rest you can just sort of rub in. If you get a spoon, you can use the back of the spoon to massage it in and help spread out that ink a little bit more evenly. Let's see if I have a spoon here. I have a spoon. It's not the one I'm thinking of, but we'll make this one work. So I'm just kind of spreading this out, massaging it in there. You want something nice and smooth. And we got to make sure we take care of that. And the way to take care of that is with a paper towel or run it under water. I happen to have a paper towel handy, so now it's pretty clean. But you don't want to just set it down on your surface because you're going to forget about it. And then you're going to have a brown something that you would hope to use on a project. See how much brighter that is? All right. Usually I let my inked stamps set for just a little bit. See how light? Much better, right? Usually I let them set for just a little bit. That helps even out the ink. Lets it settle, but I can't show you the results and show you how to do it and get a nice image all in one viewing or one shot of the video by letting it sit. So we'll just do it all and show that it can be done. You just want to take the extra time to massage that ink in and try to get it as evenly distributed as possible. So even though this particular bundle is in the mini catalog, it is not going away. Let's see, how do I want to put that? I think I want to put that right here, perhaps. I could stick it on a little bit further. I think I like it over here, though. Here we go. So let's go ahead, and I think we need some either mini dimensionals or some strips. I've got some mini dimensionals left over from a paper pumpkin, so I might as well use them. The kits in Paper Pumpkin are fantastic because they come with all the adhesive that you need, and it comes with more adhesive than you need, which means you have some left over for other projects. And so there we have, and you know what, we don't really need this particular one because it's up on a raised portion already. Go ahead and just dial that down a notch. We'll just adhere that right there. Oops. Okay. So the only dimensional out here is out here because this little piece right here is up on a dimensional, so I want to make sure that these guys are kind of on that same plane. And there you have a very simple card, perfect for a minimalistic friend, male friend, lots of things. If you wanted to put some gems on, you could. I mean, because you know what? There's lots of female birders out there too. Maybe they would like to receive this card. Could put just some of these colored gems on it. Yeah, let's see. One more, I guess. I can put it, put it right there. Nice little triangle going on. And there's a card. Again, for the inside, we can take a piece of basic white and then maybe use this as a little strip that goes down the edge. So here's a piece of 4 by 5 1/4. I'm going to just add this right down the edge. And this is a little bit longer than my white piece, so I'm not going to put the adhesive all the way to the end. Make sure my pussy willows are going up. And if you wanted to make this a congratulations card, you add congratulations or happy birthday if it's somebody's birthday. I'm going to wait until I have this specific occasion to add that sentiment. All right, so the first card we just embossed. The second card we embossed, but we also die cut something first. So we wanted a die cut that was embossed, which meant we needed to die cut first and then emboss. And then we learned how to just add a little bit more definition using a blending brush. Let me take just a quick moment to explain to you about my class card kit. If you would like a class card kit that contains all the consumables needed to create 2 of each of tonight's projects, then simply place an order of $35 or more before shipping and tax in my online store. You can find the link to my online store in the description of this video. But place that order by Sunday, December 22nd, 2024, for those of you watching it another time. And I will send that class card kit right out to you free of charge in the mail. Might take a little bit longer because of the holidays, but it will come with everything that you need. And I will even die cut the birds for you. You'll also have everything embossed and ready to go. You will just need some inks and some sentiments to make it your own. If your order is $50 or more, I'm going to include a package of the embellishments that I'm going to use on an upcoming card in this class. And those are the package of natural adhesive backed sequins. I love these things. I love them in the fall. I love them in the winter. They're just nice and sparkly and metallic. And this one is just, perfect for snow. And you're going to see that this one goes nicely with early espresso card bases, which we're going to be using. So if you would like the class card kit and or those sequins, simply place your order by this Sunday, December 22nd at 9 p.m. and I'll send it right out to you. Now let's get back to our last card. Our third card, I'm going to show you. I mentioned I'd bring in this piece of designer series paper. You can use an embossing folder on this as well. Now, this is a winter scene. It looks like snow is falling. But when the snow is falling, sometimes there's a bit of a blizzard going on. I'm going to bring in my So Swirly embossing folder, which I think adds a blizzardy effect. Now there is an embossing folder coming in the new mini catalog that I think you will also love. And it is kind of like this, just a little bit different. It is this one right here, the Soft Waves. So it goes with some sea creature themed dies, but this is waves, but this could also work for a kind of a snowy kind of night. But we can emboss directly on this kind of paper, designer series paper. It doesn't have to be cardstock. Now this, oh, you know what? I do have something I can show you. Look, the So Swirly, it just says So Swirly embossing folder. It is not a 3D embossing folder. So we're gonna get to show you the sandwich for embossing this. We will bring in our embossing machine. And just with everything we do on our embossing machine, you need a #1 plate. Now remember, this is a standard embossing folder, so you need a #1 plate and you need 2 #3 plates. And those #3 plates are the plates that we generally use for die cutting. So mine are gonna look like a hot mess, and that's okay. So we have that. We're gonna put our embossing folder through first, and this is one of those really large ones. Like it covers a lot of territory. And fold is going in first, and then we have another #3 plate. I just love the Winterly Treetops / Nests of Winter product line. It is just beautiful. All right, now let's see what we get. Oh, I should have mentioned too that the embossed side is the side that's going to have the Stampin' Up. So if you want the top of something embossed, you place it next to the side that's got the Stampin' Up logo. And so now can you see the swirly wind patterns that are going on here? Doesn't that just add a little extra fun? Make it look extra special? And then we can make a completed card in no time, just with this DSP and a card base. So here I have another card base here, and I'm not going to add another layer here because I think this is just beautiful just the way it is. But if you wanted to cut down this layer, that's something you really need to do before you emboss, because trying to cut embossed layers often leads you with frayed edges, because not everything is flat, which means that it's going to cut a little bit differently. So my suggestion is have the right size before you emboss. I'm just going to adhere this. Okay, let's see here. And now we just need a sentiment. Like, just so simple, right? So simple. Now maybe, just maybe, you need to send some thanks to somebody. So you want the sending thanks. Obviously, we can pull out sentiments from other sets if we want to, but I'm gonna just keep it with this particular set. That, have I mentioned, I love this set. I'm going to bring in a piece of scrap paper, scrap basic white. I'm going to take my freshly inked, where is it? My freshly inked early espresso pad. Ooh, that's really inky. Look at how inky that is. There we go. Don't worry that it's not straight, because I'm going to die cut this. I'm going to bring in my Stylish Shapes dies because, yes, they're my favorite. It's my Stylish Shapes dies. I'm going to find the circle that fits that nicely. That's the one right there. And I will die cut this. Be right back. So here we are. And I think we need just a little something to perk that up. Let's see, what can we bring in here? I've decided to bring in a little piece of early espresso. Now I don't want to cover up my birds too much, but I do want to just accent this a little bit. I'm going to cut it down just so a little bit sticks out from each side. So see how just a little bit is sticking out from each side? That just kind of sets that off, that greeting off a little bit, makes it stand out. So we'll just put some in the center there. Hope that's the center. Oops, it's not, it's the vertical. Oh well, we're gonna make it work. We're gonna make it work so we don't have to do it again. We've got a little extra showing. Make sure we get that straight. It's not straight there, now it's straight. And we will add in some dimensionals. Right. For most circles, I do 3. If it's a really big circle, I do 4. So we have something that looks just like that right there. And if you want to throw on some of those gems, you can. Or we have some other gems that would look nice with this as well. We have some of my favorites, which are these neutral adhesive backed sequins, and I often use them in the fall, but perfect for winter. This is perfect for the early espresso, so let's use some of those. For those of you getting the card kit, a card kit is free with a $35 purchase. Let's see, where do I want these? And there's some smaller ones, so I'm going to take the larger one there. So it's free with a $35 purchase. You will get the supplies to create 2 of each of the cards you've seen tonight, as well as the PDF tutorial and project sheet complete with instructions. If your order is $50 or more, let me see how I like that one before I go on. Nope. If your order is $50 or more, I'm going to include a package of these neutrals adhesive backed sequins. All right, I do need another one. I'm going to put it over to the side, I think, though. Let's put it right at the top of there. Okay. So something very, very simple. I will also cut a piece of basic white to go inside, and you'll have some extra DSP so that you can create something in there. But another use of designer series paper, another use of embossing folders with designer series paper. So you don't have to just emboss plain cardstock. Sometimes you might want to think about embossing designer series paper and see what little extra it adds to your project. I don't like that there. Go back there. All right, there we go. I hope you've enjoyed these 3 projects. I know that some of them were very simple, and many of my customers are much more advanced in their stamping repertoire of techniques, but it's always good to go back to the basics. I often have to be reminded that, oh yes, I can emboss designer series paper. I just never think to do that. But I thought to do it tonight, and so I hope you will think to do it in the future. I'd love to see some of your creations. Go ahead and take a photo and chime in the comments, or text or email them to me. I would love to see them. I hope you all have a wonderful Christmas season or Hanukkah, whichever you celebrate, and I will see you in the new year for Technique Tuesday Embossing Folders Round 2. Have a great rest of your week.